Thank you. It's really an honor to be here. I'm very pleased to share some of the ideas that we have about our design education today with you. We already heard a lot of talks about design, about the importance of design, and I'd like to share some ideas about why I think we need some other design practices and therefore we need some other design education. What design can do, we already heard it several times today. Designers have an enormous power. They are able to do a lot of things. At the same time, that also means that they have a huge responsibility. When we look at the world as it is today, it was co-created by designers. And that also means that we designers are able to co-create tomorrow's world. So that's both our power, but also our responsibility. We are facing immense social and planetary challenges. We don't have to talk about that. Heard it several times. We really see how the current systems are failing. Our current systems are built on outdated economic paradigms and a belief in technological salvation. The donut theory of Kate Raworth, we already heard that passing this afternoon. She so eloquently shows how there is a sort of bare minimum and there is a sort of maximum, and we have passed both barriers, to be honest. So we need a fundamental change for our social and economical and technological structures. We need system shifting design, and design can play a huge role in that. That is not about designing new solutions, because every solution, sooner or later, becomes the new problem. We've seen it with something like, for example, Airbnb. It was a very nice concept once it was introduced, and we thought it is a way for people to earn some money. It's a very friendly way to travel the world, to do some sort of couch surfing almost, to have an airbed available in another city. But in a few years' time, it turned out that specifically this Airbnb turned our cities in tourist traps and with all the problems coming from that. So it's not about designing solutions, it's much more with this complexity that we're facing that we need to design and start thinking about creating capacity. Capacity for transformation and capacity to deal with an ongoing change that is going on. That requires very other characteristics for the design practice. And that's why at the University of the Arts in the Netherlands, we launched a new school 4 years ago in creative transformation. At the moment, the school has one bachelor program, a minor program, 2 master programs, and we are working on a sort of postmaster program. The focus of this school is more or less around the competencies of systemic design, design research, transdisciplinary collaboration, transformative capacity, and critical thinking. We are coming as designers from somewhere in the previous century where the industrial age started to develop. Designers played a huge role there in designing products for mass production. It was really the design skills and competences that were very useful and very important in driving this industrial developments and preparing products and goods for manufacturing in fabrics. At a certain point, all the households had a washing machine, and all these washing machines were able to do a good job. They delivered clean laundry. And then we see that something emerges like user-centered design. It was mainly in the 70s, in the 80s, initially around sort of brand identity design, because all these washing machines, they needed to develop new brands and identities to make them more attractive. User design did a good job, especially in the digital developments, in really working on good usability and good user-centered design and good user experiences. At the same time, in the word user is already the word consumer. We are thinking about people as users of our products, users of our services, as consumers. So it's also really designing desire. And from that point of view, really pushing more consumerism. So then we see that there is a shift ongoing to human-centered design. So we started to think about people not just as users, but we started to see them as a whole, as human beings. And the good thing there is that designers started to think about, okay, what is it actually that people really need, what the people really are looking for? Maybe it's not services, it's not products, maybe it's another environment to live in, maybe it's another neighborhood, maybe it's about other connections with people. So that's a very, very interesting development. I like to challenge all of us here in the design community that it's also time to move on to the next sort of focus, and that is non-anthropocentric design. Really starting to think about it's more than just looking at human beings, it's also really looking at animals, nature, things, and the whole world around us. And really, in co-agency, starting to mobilize the collective human and non-human intelligence. So the participatory aspect of design is really at the center of our education, of this specific design education in our design practice, how we educate our students. This shifting of systems requires crossovers between different domains. I think we all know that. If we really want to start thinking about solving problems in healthcare, it's really beneficial and so very powerful to bring in other domains and the knowledge and the perspectives from other domains. So it's bridging between the different domains, start to bring them together. Not only domains, but also, more importantly, bring in the people that are concerned. So people are always at the center of this sort of collaboration. Designing for all means designing with all. And Ezio was already talking about it, and of course we know his work and thinking in this territory, design where everyone's a designer. And that means that we are educating our designers in how do you do that? Organizing a participatory design process. How do you really bring in all these different domains and all these different people and make them really part of the design process, not by just interviewing them or see them as users or ask them things, but really involve them actively in the activity of designing, because that's where it's really happening. Bringing all these people and all these domains is not enough. Like I just said, there is a whole other world around us that is just as important. If we really want to work on sustainability, we need to start thinking about how to involve the others, nature, things, etc. Bruno Latour, indeed, he passed away a couple of weeks ago only. He did a lot of thinking and wrote a lot of books about how important it is, this agency and co-agency of everything around us, also the things. And he spoke about the parliament of things, to make sure that they all have a voice, they all have a say. Even more important, what I'd just like to say, our current designs, it was also mentioned before today, are really rooted in a human-centered and in a Eurocentric way of thinking. So we need to start thinking about ways of how to involve all the other backgrounds, ways of thinking, perspectives, etc. What does that mean for the position of a designer? It really requires another sort of identification as a designer. The most design education still spends a lot of time for students to develop their own signature, their own way of doing things, who they are as a maker, really identifying who are you as a maker, what is your authorship. But now, in this situation, the designer is designing with all the other domains, people, organizations, elements involved. So it's not anymore one person making design decisions. It's making design decisions as a collective sort of activity. So the identification of this type of designer is changing. And what we like to tell our students and how we like to encourage them as well is make them aware of that this identity that they have is really about being able to and willing and having the guts to really step in the middle of complexity. Being able to stand there and being able to invite and tempt all these people and all these different domains and all these different perspectives to step into a creative process, a design process. And for many people that are not used to be in a creative environment, a design process can look really messy, can look and feel really fussy, because you don't know upfront what the outcome is going to be. That's the beauty of a design process, that you enter a process and you don't know where it's going, because that's what you're going to explore. You're going to experience, you're going to explore what is going on, what is at stake, and where could be a solution, coming up with all kind of propositions, etc. But for many people, that's quite challenging, not having clear milestones, not knowing what the deliverable is going to be. So these designers really need to be able to stand in the middle, invite all these people, make them part of a design process. That means that they have the design methodologies and design process, everything that we know about it, the theory behind it, made explicit instead of keeping it implicit, what quite often is the situation in other design practices. So this designer is really, it's an integrator, it's an inspirator, it's a navigator, a visualizer, because making things visual and really tangible is also crucial in these processes. They are facilitator, sometimes just facilitating all the other people, make them and really try to encourage them to be creative, to be a designer, to act as a designer, to start making things, to visualize something, to tell stories or to play something. At the same time, at a certain point, this designer needs to step up again and make sure that there is a sort of synthesis of everything that's going on. So the process of diverting and then converting again and working up to a sort of synthesis point is still the act of the designer. So there's a lot going on for these people, and that's really what they need to be trained in to really do that. The importance of bringing all these domains together and bringing all these perspectives together is also that in the exchange of knowledge and ways of doing, in working interdisciplinary, there's a lot of value there, and that's exactly where we can find new concepts. In the realm of transdisciplinary cooperation, it's even more interesting in making things, in designing together, in going through a creative process with the different domains, with these different backgrounds and theoretical backgrounds. There's the opportunity for something that is called this transdisciplinary synthesis that is taking place, and that's exactly where knowledge from different domains start to melt into and turn into new knowledge, in new concepts, in new scenarios. And that's why it's so incredibly important to have these transdisciplinary collaboration kind of settings, because that's where the opportunity is to find really new ways of organizing things and doing things. In our education, besides this participatory design, being a collaborator with other people, bringing other people in design process, we still spend a lot of time in just the creative processes. Our students are really confronted and learn how to visualize, how to paint things, how to build installations, how to work with creative technology. Theater kind of things are part of the program as well, because the creative process itself is really so crucial. This is also where it goes beyond design thinking. Design thinking, of course, was important when it was framed something like 10, 15 years ago, and it's placed design really at the center of a lot of things, and it was recognized that design could play a huge role in innovation. The problem is that it's a bit taken away by consultants and brought back to a very rational and a sort of linear process, and that's not the case. Design is also about making things, about visualizing, about coming up with new opportunities and coming up with new ideas over and over and over again. And all these creative processes are really part of that. So the power of participatory design, it's the activity of the designing itself is already changing the situation. So we try to emphasize for our students that it's not so much about the outcome of the process, it's really the process itself. It democratizes the process, the outcome of the process by involving people in a way like this. And it also increases, when you're doing the right thing, the degree of inclusiveness. Context is always key. So within our school, we educate our students, but they go out everywhere because they need to work with everybody, but also because it's in the context that it's happening. Situations cannot be designed, they occur, they are in the interaction between people, and so designers can only come up with new scenarios and concepts when the context is there and they even create the context. Design process goes from a problem space to an opportunity space and back again, and moving and moving. I sometimes like to see it as a sort of dancing. Designers always need to stay moving between thinking about a problem, thinking about a solution, thinking about our opportunities. And you only start to understand a problem once you start to think about a potential possible solution. And in this process of going on, doing many different design iterations, not getting stuck in different positions or different interests, that's what's so powerful about design. And that's why design is also so powerful with this complexity that we're dealing with to come up with new propositions. We like to talk about actionable and responsible futures. So it's really not about designing a new system or a new structure, because it's impossible. You can only come up with rules or principles or conditions or create something, and maybe something is going to occur there. People start to behave differently because you try to create a new setting and a new situation with new gameplay rules or new organizations or interventions. There's a triple loop learning going on in a process like this, not just with our students, so that the first loop is adapting your thoughts using the knowledge that you already have. The second loop is creating categories, coming up with new concepts, and in a third loop, something really rethinking the order of things comes up. This is what happens with students ourselves, but this is also what is happening during a design process, and this is therefore also happening with everybody participating in the design process, and that's why it's so powerful and so important. So transformation is what we are aiming for. You can't plan a transformation and you can't design a transformation. A transformation is something that comes from qualities that are already there. So our designers are trained to, in participatory processes, try to identify what is already in the center, where is already a sort of opportunity, and where is already a sort of quality that can grow and change the situation and can force a sort of transformation. So just summarizing, the main design practices are focusing on, you could see on the left side, on something like self-expression and authorship, where the new characteristic is the Creative Commons. Human-centered moves to non-anthropocentric, project-based moves to ongoing and iterative, decontextualized changes into in-context, solution-oriented changes into process-oriented, products, services, and media is now much more transformative capacity that we try to create. And materialized aesthetics are aesthetics in process and situation. So the process is the aesthetics, and the activities of creative action is much more in the process than that it's meant to end up in a sort of artifact. Within our school, we also try to organize our education in context. So we have something that is called the Transformation Platform. And we have a lot of partners around us, all kind of governments and organizations and companies, etc. They are as a circle around us. And we collaborate with them, not for them to bring in their questions or to come up with an assignment, but to really be participants in the process. And our proposition to all these partners is, join us in a process like this, bring in your topic or your theme, etc., and be involved in this design process. And our focus is for them to also develop capacity, because the experience that they have with us, we are a knowledge institution, we are an educational institution, they bring this knowledge back to their organizations, back to government, back to companies. This requires an educational environment that is really very flexible. It requires a curriculum that is really very flexible, because we constantly need to adapt to all these parties around us and be able to collaborate with them. The partners are participants. They are not bringing an assignment. They are not clients. The assessments that we do with our students are separated from the learning activities, is an important element. And it's really about structural cooperation with our partners and in an ongoing setting. We have two challenges that I'd like to share with you, and hopefully we are able, maybe in the after talk, to talk about it a little bit. One is, how can you really make non-humans, like things, animals, nature, objects, the Mediterranean, the North Sea, an active participant in a design process, and then not by representing them by a human being, because then again humans are being the voice of animals or elements or whatever. So it's really curious. This is what we are thinking about. How can we tackle this? Really curious to hear from you. And the other one is diversity in design education, because let's be honest, design education is still quite elite. The students are coming from parents that are higher educated. They have, in most cases, enough money, etc. And if we really want to design for all, we need to grow a design community that is inclusive and is much more diverse. And that is really a challenge at the moment. Thank you.